Welcome back to the James McGee Show. I am your host. I am James McGee. So I hope you had a good weekend. I had a really good one. Went to a retirement party for one of my closest friends. Congratulations to him. So first thing, if you hear something, there's a little birdie that has joined me out here on the patio this morning. I opened the door. Maybe he'll fly out. If not, he will join us on this really nice, cool, not cold, but cool morning here in Southwest Louisiana. So I'm a pretty systematic guy. When I'm doing well in life, one thing that is consistent. If I'm doing well, it means I'm being consistent and I'm a scheduled person. So I know that about myself, that if I'm going to be at my best, then it's when I am disciplined and I get up at the same time. And I'm able to do that now at this stage of my life. So I get up, I got my routine, prepare for the show when I get up. A couple things that I do: I cold plunge sometimes. Most of the time, I cold plunge beforehand, and then after the show, I go to the gym. I have a gym I started going to about a year ago. It's a great gym, and one of the things at the gym that has really changed my life is a sauna. So at almost 55 years old, and I'm still trying to live like I'm 25 years old. I am the sauna has been absolutely amazing, but the sauna's a little weird for us straight men. That's a joke. Not trying to offend anybody. Us straight men is a little weird because you're in there with other men. Most men are in their underwear, or some men, which I don't approve of, choose to just wrap themselves in a towel. That's not appropriate if you're out there listening. So what do you do if you're a straight man and you're sitting there with a bunch of half-naked men? You can do one of two things. You can just ignore everybody, or you can engage in conversation. And I am a friendly guy, and I do like to engage. So that's what happens. And I have made friends in the sauna. So I was talking to one the other morning, really good guy, successful guy, owns a business. He was a coach, and we were talking about he has a business that he is tournament baseball, and I was never involved in it. My son played soccer. My daughter didn't play tournament softball, but that tournament baseball model is one that is really it is a moneymaker. It's drained a lot of people, and people are trying to sell pipe dreams that their kid can. Every kid there, you think you're going to be in the major leagues, and it's just really if you talk to a lot of coaches, it's really a terrible model. Well, he opened a business that does tournament baseball, and he's trying to change that. Well, one thing I told him, and he agreed, and he added to it, was that our parents taught us not to lie. But they have been lying to us. They lied to us. They have lied to us more than anybody. How many of you parents told you you can be anything that you want to be? That's a lie. You can't be anything that you want to be. I want to be a country music singer. I can't sing. There isn't a singing coach on earth that could take this voice and make it a successful country music voice. Therefore, I can't be anything that I want to be. But here's what we can be. We can be the best at what we're good at. You can be good. You can be great at anything you're good at. Find your niche, find what you're good at, and go be fucking great at it. So that's off topic a little bit. It's not my normal yelling and screaming about politics. Don't worry. I'm about to start doing that today in a minute. But I wanted to just hit that story. Every now and then when it's a good story, I'm going to throw that in there because I'll tell you this about me. Man, you can learn a lot from me. I'm 55 years old, man. I got a lot for you to learn from. You know why? Because I have fucked up so much in life and I've done so much dumb shit. I can sure teach you what not to do. And that was part of my motivation of starting this podcast, was doing that. So ending, the end of last week, all last week, we really hit on these nonprofits. I'm sorry, we hit on this. Well, it's the nonprofits. We hit on this Somalia with the fraud and the billions of dollars. But how does that happen? And so what I have dove into, and I'm going to dive into probably, man, it's just, you want to talk about a rabbit hole. You start going into these nonprofits, well, NGOs, what they're called, non-governmental organizations. Man, they come up with some names to make everything sound so legit. So many of these are scams. And look, I'm going to tell you that I have, throughout my career, I served on several boards of nonprofits. I was on our local women domestic violence women's shelter board. I was on that for years, and then for probably over 10 years, I was on the board for the local United Way. And you talk about both of those organizations did some really good things, but that's not every NGO. I'm just going to call them nonprofits. That's what they're supposed to be. They're supposed to be not for profit, but there's so many of them that is a scam. And when I started diving into it, I realized why. I realized how it has become that. Did you know that there are over 1.5 million NGOs or nonprofits in the United States? Let me tell you that one more again. There are 1.5 million NGOs in the United States of America. Of those, now you may give to some of them, and that's how they're supposed to work. They're supposed to work for us private citizens to give donations. But what we found out through when Doge was created, and is so many of these, it's government. See, a government agency can give grants. They're donating, but they're calling it a grant. Now, I've also been involved in that of federal grants. There is some regulatory issues. I mean, there's some, supposed to be regulated. There is some, it's supposed to be highly regulated, but how are you going to regulate 450,000? There are 450,000 of the 1.5 million NGOs that's receiving government funding through grants. Let that sink in. How are you going to regulate that? So here's the real alarming part, is that anybody, and it was shown in Minneapolis. Oh, there's a bird. It was shown in Minneapolis. Anybody can just start a nonprofit. You had these Somalians that really had absolutely no credibility, no qualifications. They just started a nonprofit. So we're going to feed people. And the process is real easy. You can, that bird's getting on my nerves. I'm sorry. You can start an NGO in less than 6 months, up and running, getting money, applying for federal grants. Okay. So anybody can do that. We'll get more into the federal grant part. So the process is real simple. You got to have a board. You got to have bylaws. You got to go through it's a bullshit paper deal. But if you do that, then you can get that status, that tax exempt status. And once you get that status in less than 6 months, you qualify for funding, whether it's state, whether it's local, whether it's other foundations, big foundations of just multi-million and some of them billions of dollars can award you grants. The board also, now I've never been on a board that was paid. Never been paid a dime. I never took a trip that was paid by the nonprofit. I maybe went to a dinner or two, and all the times that I was on it, maybe went to a dinner or two that was paid by the nonprofit, but not much. All that was, my own time. Now, I promise you, I earned that dinner because any nonprofit that I was a part of the board, I gave. I didn't give a lot, but I gave. For me, it was a lot. I believed in the board and I gave, but that's not consistent with everybody. A lot of people get on these boards for reasons other than doing the right thing and giving back and trying to help people. So that's what I'm gonna dive into this year. Elected officials can be on boards. You may think, okay, how is that a problem? That's a huge problem because they're the ones awarding money. See, that's where when you start allowing having paid members, having elected officials, having so many of these, and look, I don't have the answers, and maybe when I start diving into it more this week, as I'm diving into it, by the end of the week, I might have some opinions on how do you solve this. But here's my main objective today. We have a huge problem in this country when it comes to NGOs. The amount of NGOs that are just handed money, and there's no way to regulate it. So I don't know if you streamline, if you limit it, if you try. I don't know. I don't have that answer. At least today, I don't have that answer. But I do have. I don't have an answer, but I definitely have an observation. It's a fucking mess. It's a huge mess in this country right now. That we are given billions upon billions of dollars. Look what happened in Minnesota. Now I'm gonna dive into California. California was giving grants, billions of dollars, from what I remember, and I'm gonna specifically look into that this week. From what I remember, it was like $56 billion to solve the homeless problem through NGOs. The homeless problem tripled. Where's the money? You followed the money with these, and we'll get back to politicians. So politicians, this is a huge. This is how things. Okay, so you get a person. I'm gonna give you a hypothetical. That happens. I'm gonna give you something hypothetical, but I promise you this happens. You get a politician, and you get maybe an influential person that can help them get elected, get some votes, and you tell them, hey, go start your nonprofit. Call it Feeding America, whatever you call it. And I'm helping you get those. You help me get elected. You do this. I'm going to help you get those grants. And they form a board with other people who don't have, who really don't care about feeding people. It's a money grab. So you form this board with like-minded, corrupt people, and they get this status, they get this grant, and they don't feed anybody. They fake it. It's all a facade. It's all a fugazi. That's how that works, and that's happening every single day in this country. Nonprofits or NGOs, I keep going back and forth calling them, they're the same thing. It's a huge problem, and that has to be addressed, and it has to be seriously addressed. How can a person, especially a person from a country, I hit on Somalia last week, and I'm going to stay hitting on them. So you take a person from this a country that is known to be just corrupt and not even a organized country with an organized government, and we bring them here as refugees, give them status, and then allow them we don't know them, don't know anything about them. We allow them to start an NGO and start funneling government money. That's how you're paying people off. That's what politicians are using government grants. Hey, you do this for me, and there's money being funneled on the back end. There's so many. I promise you, in this Minneapolis, and last night on my show, we covered. I'll probably show that video maybe tomorrow. Last night, I showed a video that this main guy on this feeding whatever his organization's name was, had pictures with who? Tim Walz, Elon Omar. I promise you they're involved. You don't get this kind of federal money. I have been involved in federal grants on a government agency, a local government agency getting federal grants, and seeing federal grants and state grants being given to boards that I was on. You don't get that kind of money without the help of politicians. Like I said, I was on boards that were doing the right thing, following the rules, but it's not always like that. So we have to dive into, should there be 1.5 million NGOs in this country? And of those 1.5 million, should the federal government be given $450 million of those federal money? The answer is no. I don't know how to fix it. You know what? By the end of the week, I'm gonna go ahead and put pressure on myself right now. I'm gonna commit that by the end of the week, I'm gonna come up with a solution of how do we fix that. When I challenge myself, I usually come through. So I'm gonna challenge myself. Come up with a problem. You got to come up with a solution too. So let's go to Mama Luke of the day. Let's just start off with it's probably his third appearance as Mama Luke. Tim Walz. Tim Walz is absolutely the biggest. And I'll tell you this, I'm gonna give him a rest for about at least a week after this. But Tim, you can't ignore the fact that this disgusting human has continued lied and continued scam. And I promise you that when all this is uncovered, I'm making a prediction that when this is uncovered, because what he has done is hollered and screamed and blamed everybody else and taken no responsibility. It's kind of like when you were a kid. The person that smelled the fart, the smeller's the feller. The person that smelled the fart is the person that farted. I guarantee you, Tim Walz is the one that farted here. The smeller's the feller, Tim Walz. And you are not only a piece of shit, you are, congratulations, the first 3-time recipient of Mama Luke of the day. So until tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. Central Standard Time, remember, no one's coming to save you, and the world does not give a fuck. McGee is out.